I wonder, Katie Tunstall must have that kind of relationship with this song, mustn't she? She's written an absolute smash hit and go, here we go again. Suddenly, everywhere she goes. But she is talking to us about pretty serious matters in terms of her industry. She's actually warned coronavirus pandemic could cause some music venues to become extinct. She's talked about an extinction-level event for live venues. The Scottish singer, she rose to fame with hits like Suddenly I See, says now it's crunch time for the industry. More than 1,000 artists and really big names recently signed an open letter to the Culture Secretary calling for action to save the UK's live music industry. And I've been speaking to Katie.
All acts that end up going on to make a great living owe a lot to that foundation of venues. And I'm now an ambassador of the Music Venue Trust, so I know a little bit more about the plight of the people running those venues. They're constantly up against developers trying to buy them out. They're constantly up against insane business tax hikes every year. And all these people who are running these venues, they are labourers of love and nothing less. They're not in it for the money. And they're not proud to be having to ask for money either. No one wants handouts here. It's really about a situation where the live music industry, which employs over 200,000 people in this country, not the artists. That's the job for workforce around live music. The airlines are up and running, the pubs are opening, sports is getting back on its feet, and the live music sector has just been told to stay closed indefinitely.
And there's almost an unspoken structure in a way, isn't there? Although it's not formally held together in that way, you go from this venue to that one, you do well at that one, now you're ready for this one, and on it goes until you get to the much bigger arena type venues.
Exactly. It's a completely inbuilt system of expansion and learning for these artists. And you don't just walk out on stage, on the Pyramid stage at Glastonbury. There's a long journey for people to get there. I owe a lot to those venues. And I've seen a lot of pushback from people saying, well, you owe those venues the money. You guys have made your money. You should put your hands in your pockets and pay to bail them out. That's not how the economy works. We don't ask Gordon Ramsay to keep sandwich shops open. That's it. The reason those artists have done so well is because they've made great work, gone out, worked hard, and been successful. And they're injecting huge amounts back into the economy because of how they've done. And the job that we can do, sure, there's philanthropy amongst us better earning musicians. But what we can do is try and shout for these small venues and this amazingly hardworking, mostly completely freelance workforce, by the way, who don't really get access to a lot of that government scheme stuff. And the problem being as well that these are very specialised jobs, and there's not really rule books for these jobs. It's people learning on their feet as they're coming up through the industry. And if we lose this sector of grassroots venues, that entire workforce needs to get jobs elsewhere. So even when we come back to this, even if the venues are open, there's no one left.
And the thing is, those places are so often such a part of the culture of that town and city, aren't they? Real part of the identity of those places as well. And many of them have been around for decades and decades and decades. And once they're gone, to replace them is not easy.
Well, in this day and age, unfortunately, Chris, it wouldn't happen because the developers are at their heels all the time. So it would just be an absolute smash and grab where a lot of corporate interests would take over these spaces. You can't get them back. So it's dire. I've mentioned it already. It's an extinction level event. And, as I said, I have seen pushback online of people saying, why does it deserve it? Look, this is a 5.2 billion per year industry, 210,000 jobs. What they need a 50 million cash injection to prevent them from collapsing. That's less than the VAT earned on live tickets every year. It's not a big ask to keep a very beloved industry alive through this very difficult time.
Extinction level event, did you say?
Yes.
How does that work? Because people will still want to see live music. People have wanted to see live music from year dot. It's a very natural human desire to see people playing music, isn't it? And people will still want to provide that. So one way or another, we'll find a way to offer that, won't we?
We will, but we have to make people understand that when you go to a show, it's not about a band. It's not just about a musician. It's about a sound engineer. It's about a lighting engineer. It's about a truck driver, a bus driver. It's about ushers, security, ticket sellers, venue staff, local restaurants, local hotels. It's a massive ecosystem that benefits from these places. And it's not just about artists becoming famous and injecting money back into the economy. These are hubs of well-being for individual communities. And also in this day and age, it's really important for local communities to feel a sense of pride. It's quite difficult. It's, with the modern world upon us, it's quite difficult where everything looks a bit homogenized and every high street is kind of closing down and all the big shopping centres look the same. So these venues are providing a real sense of local identity and pride, not only a platform for young people to become Calvin Harris, Ellie Goulding, David Bowie, Led Zeppelin. You don't get any of those acts unless you have these venues.
Good to talk to Katie Tunstall. She's worried about an extinction-level event when it comes to live venues. In response, government response, they have said they are already providing unprecedented financial assistance, which many music organisations and artists have taken advantage of, pointing to loans and the job retention scheme. The government, they say, recognise that this pandemic has created major challenges for the sector and are working closely with them to develop comprehensive guidance for performances and events to return as soon as possible.